You're listening to the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast with your host, Cameron Manning. We bring you the industry experts each episode who will help you man up on your real estate career. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. I appreciate everyone joining us here today, and we're bringing to you another exciting interview. Again, you're kind of starting to see a theme with these interviews as we've been pumping them out. This is another gentleman that I met off of the Clubhouse app. And again, if you're not on that app, there are so many amazing opportunities for you to meet and grow and learn from such amazing people, such as my next guest today. And as I mentioned, we are taking the podcast global now, and we're jumping all the way to Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas with Mr. Greg Chen. Greg, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Cameron.
I appreciate you joining me. Now, I'm excited to get to know you a little bit better because we've been chatting for a couple of months now on the Clubhouse app, and I've definitely seen that you are someone who loves to add a lot of value, and you are very different. You're doing some crazy things out there in your approach to real estate that, from the traditional standpoint, wouldn't make sense to a lot of those agents who've been doing it for 20, 30 years. And so I definitely want to dive into that. And I think there's going to be a lot of value behind that in this podcast today. But again, I want to get to know Greg a little bit. So Greg, tell us about yourself. What's life like down in Vegas for you? How did you get into real estate? What was the driving factor? And we'll kind of build from there.
Okay, sounds good. So I've lived in Vegas for about 7 years, and I got into real estate not as a first or even second career. This is kind of like my fourth career. When I turned 35, I think I was in what I call, quarter life crisis, midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
And you realize that what you were doing didn't work. And because I was unhappy with what I was doing from a career standpoint, it really transpired into different avenues. Like relationships fell apart, friendships fell apart, and I felt like I needed to rebuild. I got into real estate because after buying and selling personally for myself, I said, I can do this better than anyone else. And what better time, right? What better time when everything felt like it fell to the ground and I had to pick everything back up. I said, let's go into real estate. So I worked for a luxury furniture company for 8 years, and I had a conference and went back to San Francisco, had a conference, and I told my leader at that point, it's me, not you. Here's my open-ended resignation. You tell me. Then I took 3 weeks, went into real estate school, took all the courses that are required, passed the test, went back to work. They're like, your 2 weeks are ending like immediately, like at the end of the month. Your 2 week starts now. I'm like, okay, this is the wake-up call.
Yeah.
I was not anticipating that. So as someone that I thought was with the company for 8 years, I maybe have provided enough value where they would like, hey, stick around for a month, 2 months to help transition this.
So you get your feet under you and things like that. But
exactly. And I was just being open, honest, and transparent. And I realized that when I am not working on my own dreams, I'm working on other people's dreams. And when other people's dreams and my dreams don't align, they want me completely out. So I got into real estate and started building the ultimate business that I wanted. So I got into real estate in July of 2019. So trucking along, everything looks good. Got my first deal 3 months in, from social media. Then I was like, okay, I need to actually do a little bit more, right? And then I was like, okay, dump social media. Social media doesn't work. Paid for leads, whatever. Did open houses. Did open houses so well that I made up my goal of 2020. But as we all know, 2020 was a very unexpected year.
Yeah, you could say that again. I think, especially because you're not even a full year into it now at this point, and you get slapped with such a monumentous global crisis, right? And I mean, that is definitely for a lot of people, it could be a very deterring thing. You know what I mean? And for the other people, it creates opportunities. They always say that opportunity is created in crisis, right? And so how did the pandemic serve you to build what you're building now then?
Well, the pandemic started with, everything's just going to be shut down for a couple of weeks. Then everything went back to normal. When the couple of weeks started in the middle of March and it didn't end at the very beginning of April, I was like, oh no, I need to do something to occupy my time. I was either going to learn a foreign language, which was Mandarin, because I don't know how to speak Mandarin, or learn something called a language of TikTok. I leaned heavily on TikTok. And next thing I know, I was dancing like the kids, 30 days of dance. And I told myself, why would I dance? Pretty much, yeah, totally. If you went back, you could totally see how I did my early TikToks. And I did 30 days straight. And I told myself, because I did it for 30 days, it takes 30 days to build a habit.
Yeah.
I built that habit. Then I realized, okay, had a referral, got back into the real estate business, and let social media go to the wayside again.
Right.
Then after a while, I was like, August 1st, I had a transaction that ended at the end of July. I felt like a brand new agent all over again. No leads, no escrow, nothing.
Back to square one.
And the pandemic was not anywhere. We had no idea. So I was like, what did I do?
And by that point too, I mean, the US was now on the global scale as like, it's bad here. Like, you know, and of course there was all the other turmoil that was happening in the States at the time too. I mean, you know, as a Canadian, we were looking like, what's happening down there?
Right. And ours is like, you know, full blown crisis. Like, what the heck is happening? Some people were wearing masks. Certain states had, it was a mess.
There was riots, there was not riots. There was like, you know.
Pretty much. And then election, I was like, okay, gotta shut off. Yeah. So I told myself, let's start getting to work. If I had all the time in the world, what would I do? So I started building TikTok. And I found success quite early. I mean, again, 3 months after getting into TikTok, November, came my first transaction from TikTok. And I was like, is this real? Like, if this can't be real, someone's reaching out to me again because of TikTok on TikTok, can't be real. So I went into just professional mode. Hey, how are you? Because the purpose of a meeting, just like as most realtors are, let's talk to that person. Let's try to get that listing. Let's try to do it. And it was a listing. 15 minutes on the phone, landed my second meeting. I was like, okay, I'm meeting the gentleman at his home. I go in. I didn't even look at the address because I thought it was fake. Again, you don't believe it until it happens to you, right?
Totally. Yeah.
I stepped into a custom home in a community called Calico Ridge here in Henderson in Las Vegas. And it was one of the most expensive homes sold during 07. And I was like, you must be kidding me, right? And
no kidding.
I have...
You'd be pinching yourself as you're walking up.
And I was like, okay, this home is a little dated, but everything is clean. You know, as long as the home is clean, smells clean, and is presentable, it's going to sell. And I said, hey, after this, here's the net sheet. Did my 45 minutes. Literally in an hour, after an hour, he said, you know, let me think about all this. I was like, no problem. Let me touch base with you tomorrow morning. Yeah. If you feel as confident as you feel now tomorrow morning, I will like to meet you in person tomorrow afternoon, same time, same place at the home. And let me grab the keys from you. He's like, perfect. In the morning, I texted him, can I earn your business? He's like, absolutely. I'll see you at 5 o'clock.
Boom.
That was my first listing off of TikTok, $799,000.
That's amazing.
And it didn't stop there. Next thing you know, came my first $1 million deal.
Yeah.
Then came my second $1 million deal. Then I realized that, oh, okay, maybe what I was putting out was content that was attracting at a higher level.
Yeah.
Instead of
clearly creating a value with your content too, because people wouldn't call you if they didn't find there's a value that you're adding to them, you know, for them to want to then reach out and get more, right?
Exactly. I'll share the third client was $1 million client. He was a CIO of a tech company in Seattle. He first reached out to me and said, hey, coming down to celebrate my sister's birthday, want to look at some houses. I'm like, cool. Who are you? Oh, I'm this person. Great. I'll see you at this point. I'll give you the address 24 hours before. Meet us there. At that point, I've already started building my team because through social media and through TikTok, I was able to attract other agents that share the same passions, that share the
Right.
same enthusiasm of wanting to build a real estate business, as many people started getting into real estate at that point. So we went, showed the home, and during this time before coming, he's like, "Hey, Greg, do you know any good bakeries around?" I'm like, "Absolutely. Here's another TikTok bakery that I'm really close friends with. Here's a promo code. They even deliver. Just give them your address and say that Greg sent you. They'll probably hook you up." They were like, "You know, thank you so much." They had a great time. Did we find the house right there and then? Absolutely not. Because at $1 million plus, you just don't land deals automatically. So we spent
they're going to have some needs and wants that, first time out, you're just getting to know what they want at that point, right?
Exactly. And it took about a couple months. In January, went into contract for a $2.3 million brand new build, completing next year. So that works.
A little over double what you went down for,
So, and then, as a brand new agent, again, I felt like, okay, well, I've earned my 2022 paycheck. What do I do now, right? So let's start building a team. I now have 5 agents on my team. All we do is social media. All we do is social media attraction. And since August of last year to now, this week, I am committed to reaching my vision board goal of 100,000 friends and followers on TikTok.
And I just looked before we started this interview. You're extremely close. Like you're at like 98 point something, I think, right?
Very, very close. And the pressure is
so if you guys are listening to this, and if he hasn't reached 100, which I bet by the time this is actually out and you're listening to this, he's already reached it. But go and check him out and make sure you follow that TikTok. And even if he goes over 100,000, let's get him to that 150 mark as quickly as we can. Let's keep growing that, because honestly, rewinding a little bit here, because obviously we've gone deep into that first 2 years. Like you're only 2 years in this business at this point now. You got licensed at, you said July 2019, right? Or June?
Correct.
July. So July 2019, he's gone from working full-time, surviving a pandemic, building nearly 100,000 followers on TikTok, selling $1 million deals because people find him on TikTok, to now growing a team. And the interesting thing that I love about it, and I'm a big fan, so obviously I follow Gary Vaynerchuk and all of them, and go onto these apps when it's early, because that's when you're going to get that organic reach. And of course, everyone says oh, that's for kids. Oh, teenage girls go on there and dance. And then Greg goes on there and dances, right? But at the end of the day, you're living proof that if you early adopt and you start actually utilizing the product, what it actually is, it does eventually start to skew, right? That demographic starts getting older, and now it becomes a viable social media platform that you can legitimately lead generate from. And even today, I was having a conversation, I was listening to a conversation where one of the big agents in our area was talking about how they're just going to double down back on Instagram because they did that 2 years ago and it really, really worked. And so they're going to do that again because they know it works. And the only reason they would go on TikTok is if they had their 13-year-old daughter help them. And I'm like, you're missing the mark. There's another big agent that you and I both know, Glenda Baker, that's absolutely killing it on TikTok as well. And I mean, when you look at the age range of these people that are killing it, they're not 13-year-old agents, right? So this is where I think that you are really standing up for a platform now, and you're really broadening what a lot of realtors are starting to see as an opportunity out there. So let's dive into TikTok a little bit more, because obviously I know it's something you love talking about. You go up on stage and that's the thing you hit home. What is a couple things that if someone were to be an agent that wants to start growing a TikTok account, what would be the top 3 things that you would recommend that they start doing on their TikTok right away to start getting that growth and getting that engagement?
All right, 3 things. Number 1, people need to know who you are. So for the first 1,000 followers, it's not about posting things as a realtor or in any profession, right? Get to know your audience by providing who you are, because people are going to connect with you as a person before they connect with your profession. Because as we all know, our professions can go away in an instant. The second thing, once you get to 1,000, or let's just say working on the first 1,000, what you want to do is do 4 things. I would say like the 4 E's of really all social media. You either are educating, entertaining, or a combination of both. You have a emotional side.
Right?
Entertainment, you have to be a little bit interesting. You can pull on the emotional, meaning by sharing a story, it doesn't mean I have to cry by the end of watching this TikTok, but the emotion could be, I feel happy, I feel optimistic. But the last E that you have to do is engage.
Yes.
You can do all the videos you want, all the posts you want, but if you're not engaging and taking part in the comments and commenting back, you're not going to build that audience.
Yeah.
So I would say the 4 E's is, number 2. And the third one's probably the most, the third piece is the hardest for a lot of people to get through in their head, is you need to show your face. You need to people need to hear your voice. Why that is, once they are a customer and a client, you are going to meet with them and they're going to hear your voice. So if you say you don't have the face for video, or if you don't have the voice for video, I don't think I did at the very beginning. So the first 1,000 followers, or during that time, is your experimental phase. Get all of the, what I call the jitters out, and just start building. It's about not consistency. It's just about doing it. If you did one video, do another one the following day. It's only 15 seconds. When it's only 15 seconds and it takes you 4 hours to edit that 15 seconds, it's not because of skill. It's because of the mindset. You feel like you want to curate this beautiful, luxurious 15-second video. It's only 15 seconds. You can't sell a house using a 15-second video. However, you can build an audience with many, many videos in the whole realm of things.
Well, it's interesting because obviously with TikTok, you can do up to a minute long. And you definitely see some of those ones where people spend some serious time. And I will be the first to admit it that I've definitely done that too. I'll do all this filming at a property, then I'll go on to like that Splice app, let's say, put it all together, get it all looking nice, post it, and next thing you know, I get like 400 hits. And then I turn around and I had a random video of me being super excited about discovering this hidden door in a property. So I had my client film me as I like open this thing up, and I'm like, total Scooby-Doo moment. And then next thing you know, it gets almost 3,000 hits, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes those curated videos aren't the ones that we think are gonna, like, we might like them, but they're not gonna be the ones that engage, right? So sometimes we overthink it, and I definitely believe in that. And I like to your point too, and you said that you didn't think you had the face or the voice for video. I would say that 90-something% of people out there probably feel the same. I know I did, right?
I still do.
I'm my biggest critic. Even doing this podcast, folks, if you're listening to, I'll be the first one to listen to it back and be like, maybe I should just delete this, right? So if you guys are nervous about, putting your face out there, whatever, who cares? At the end of the day, someone will see it. And if they don't like it, they'll probably never see you again, and is what it is. Now, the one thing though that most people are scared of when they start diving into it, and I know I've had my fair share, is those people who are the trolls. So what would be your advice to somebody if they start getting those trolls? Like they're already super nervous, but they take the plunge and then someone starts hammering them online. And I find that TikTok is full of those trolls who they have no profile, but they like to tell you what you're wrong about, right? How do you handle that?
Sure. The one thing I recommend is don't lower your standard to make others comfortable. Keep your standard high. When you keep your standard high, especially with your content, with whatever deliverable you're delivering on social media, keep them high. When people try to meet and be fake and try to bring you down, you're going to keep your level high.
Yeah.
So after a while, if you were to engage and get into a fight and do all that, your future customers are watching how you interact with others. So kill them with kindness. Totally. When someone is, let's just say, being a hater, Ask them a question. Why do you feel this way? Tell me what did you have at this restaurant or this experience that made it not great for you? And have those conversations, because oftentimes people that are going to be quote unquote trolling you don't have any comeback because they don't expect someone to engage them in a positive way, in a high standard way. Keep your standard high so that when you know your standards up here, you're going to find clients and customers that are going to meet you in your level. Is it going to take patience? Absolutely. But once you lower your standard, you also lower the standards of attraction. Of course, you're going to attract more at a lower standard. Keep your standard high. You will never have to worry too much about haters. And I just answer with emojis. You move on, because if you're 100% authentic, nobody can bash your authenticity. You just move on for it. Just like, any objections that you may see from clients.
Absolutely. I love that, because at the end of the day, two things happen. One, you kill them with kindness. I like that aspect, because again, you're not going to lower yourself to their standard. I like that. But two, it's also helping that algorithm, right? Because there's more engagement on the actual. So just realize that these guys who are taking the time to give you that hate or be that troll, they are actually helping you potentially put that video in somebody else's eyes that will be the one who wants to engage with you. So a lot of times I just, same thing. I had one video that just went nuts with the trolls. And, I would say I was being a little controversial, right? Because I was like, hey, why not? It's going to get some feedback, right? And it was my views on the real estate market and why I think, people need to take action in this market. And of course, it was a lot of the realtors don't know what they're talking about. This guy's a scam artist. He just wants your property. And I would just respond, be like, why is it that you think that? Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you watching my video, right? And then and next thing you know, just from responding to them, I think I had 200 comments, because a few of them would try to take a wisecrack back, and then I would leave it at that point. And next thing you know, that video started going it's probably one of my more watched videos. And so, folks, you can see that if you just engage, but you don't. If you engage, but you don't go down to their level, as Greg said, it's actually just helping you. So.
Absolutely. I mean, a great video, and realtors get asked this all the time. How much do I have to save to own a X amount of dollar home? So I did a video recently. How much do you need to save to own a $450,000 home? And everything is, as we all know, these are examples. We have to share our experiences through examples. And then you get lenders, that are on TikTok that are like, stay in your lane. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, of course you are the expert. However, we need to provide content that is going to be inspirational, that people are going to want to own homes. If we said, hey, this is super scary and we're not going to tell you all the secrets, that video is going to get 0 views, maybe one, from my mom. Yeah. Even my mom is on TikTok watching me right now. And I'm just like, yeah. So I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. But if you realize that the time that you spend on answering the negative comments, you're missing out on the real comments and the real engagement that you need. So as you get any kind of trolls, just, I would say, answer, move on, move on.
Absolutely. I totally agree. TikTok's definitely, it's an interesting platform. Now, obviously, there's going to be a point in time. Right now, would you agree? Right now is still a good opportunity for organic growth then on this platform.
Absolutely. Anyone that is going to get on, I'm 37, so anyone that is in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and above, get on. You're going to be known as the early adopters.
Yes.
What do we know about early adopters, right? Number one, they're going to be affluent people because they want to be in the know. They want to be the first ones out there. So are the millionaires going to be out there wanting to be on TikTok before any of the general public? Absolutely. So that's number one. Number two, when you are an early adopter, let's think about the iPhone. Remember back in history, people stood in line for that crappy tin iPhone.
It's crazy when we're thinking that's history now, but yeah, carry on.
We're on iPhone 12 now, but that first iPhone, people didn't care about the price. Oh, okay. People don't care about the price. Number three, the interesting thing about it as early adopters, especially with technology, we know it's not going to be perfect. There are going to be iterations of it. So the people that are going to be early adopters are going to be innovators and know that maybe your video is not perfect and are going to be more receptive of it. You know, they don't know any different. They just know that they are wanting to be in the forefront. The last piece is the most important piece. If they like the experience, they will share it. So those are the 4 characteristics of early adopters.
Yeah.
Those are the exact 4 characteristics of who I want as a client. That's the magic.
I love it. I love it. And the thing is too, you know, I see so many people that are always late to the game. You know what I mean? How many people are now saying, oh my God, I need to build my Instagram account. And I'm not discrediting Instagram by any means. I still focus a lot on Instagram. But right now, Instagram is a lot more pay to play now, right? It's linked in with all the Facebook advertising. And so people are saying, I'm struggling to grow Instagram. It's because you're too late, right? When a lot, and you can still grow it, but it's going to be a lot more arduous than jumping on something that's focused still heavily on the organic side of things. Because eventually, I mean, we're already seeing, I'm seeing more and more ads coming up on TikTok now. It is eventually going to get to that pay to play. Everything typically does go that route. They build it big enough to the point where they're like, great, now we don't need to worry about it. Now let's just charge people for it. So I would say, and I know Greg would agree, if you're interested, get on it and just start experimenting. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, my first 2 videos, I was just taking a few of my old podcasting clips, just picked a 15-minute segment, threw them on there with nothing. Right?
Yep.
Just to start learning how to do the app. You know, it doesn't hurt. Your first few videos don't get engagement. It's not going to hurt your long-term growth, right? At the end of the day, it's what exactly Greg had mentioned with the top 3 things, especially with his 4, his entertainment, his education, engagement, and oh my goodness, the 4th one.
Emotional. That has to draw some of your emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. After this, I'll be going back and taking notes myself because that's on TikTok. I'm learning from Greg. Actually, it's funny. Greg and I, we were in a Clubhouse room, and he was doing some quick audits for people on their TikTok. And he's like, I'm doing you next, Cameron. I'm like, oh God.
So, right. I was like, you need to do this and this. And
yeah. And it was awesome. And you know what? I've taken his advice. He's like, your 2 new hashtags that you're using all the time are Vancouver life and Vancouver real estate. So now if you look, most of my videos have that hashtag, and I've noticed a lot more engagement. I've got more growth. I think since that conversation, I've gained 100 followers now, right? Mm-hmm. That wasn't that long ago. So I'm like, hey, you know, there's something to this, right? So
yes.
You know, if you haven't listened to this podcast again, if you've ever thought about, you know, TikTok, he's got great tips that he's giving you guys for free here that if you just engage, you'll get some growth, and eventually you'll get clients. Now, I did get 1 client. Now, it didn't end up, I should say I got a lead. Okay, I didn't get a client.
Got a lead. Okay.
Got a lead. It was through a TikTok video that I did, but I actually shared it to my Instagram on Reels before like Reels started penalizing that. And it went more viral on Instagram Reels. I actually got like 160,000 hits on it. And someone actually messaged me because they're like, that was hilarious. You get it. Let's have a coffee. And unfortunately, she's not in a position necessarily to buy right away. But hey, I'm like, that's proof in the pudding for myself that these videos, if they're entertaining, they're educating, they get traction. So I highly recommend going back. Now, I want to skew away from TikTok a little bit. I know that's the big thing. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, what's going on out there right now in this market, because we all were in the same boat as agents, and you specifically, because you were kind of still getting your feet wet because you were still working a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, let's do this. Bang, pandemic hits. And now suddenly, I mean, I don't know what it was like in the States, but in Canada at the beginning of the pandemic, they were saying, you know, homeowners, be prepared. You're about to lose 18% of your value due to the COVID, you know. And there was all this fear that summer 2020, everyone was going to lose half of the equity they've built up in their home over the last like a couple of years. But obviously, we've seen the complete opposite, right? The market has taken off in Canada, taken off actually almost across the world. So tell me what the vibe has been like down in Las Vegas for you.
Yeah, I would say at the very beginning of the pandemic, everyone just didn't know. At the very beginning of the pandemic in March, I had 5 transactions all going on. And, you know, I don't have to cross my fingers because it's all done. I did not lose any deals because of a shaky buyer, or I was working with buyers at the time, all shaky buyer, or I didn't have any buyers that felt like, oh, I was uncertain. Even my most cautious buyers followed through, finished through, because at the very beginning, it's so important to pre-qualify everyone. If you can start off with a client or a customer that is a little bit shaky, they're going to be, rocky road by the end of the end of the journey.
Absolutely.
But right now, the market is strong. I don't like to use the word crazy because nobody wants to work with anyone that is in a crazy any sense. So I like to say the market is very strong. I had a listing from TikTok, listed it right at the neighborhood record, just right a little bit under. It went 7% over.
Yeah.
And it's had 7 offers, all very strong offers to start off with. But the agents that maybe have learned along the way of losing offers got the sense of, hey, this is how we need to go in and go in strong.
Yeah.
So are we getting multiple offers? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are we able to win offers for our clients? Absolutely. Just even this month, I'm closing on 1 listing and then 2 buyers. So it is possible. However, you need to understand what the sellers are asking for.
Totally. Absolutely. I mean, there is a lot of transactions that are happening, and I know a lot of agents out there are getting super frustrated, and a lot of them, this is going to cause them to quit the business, right? Unfortunately, but there is a almost a science to this. At the end of the day, there's obviously some people, there's emotion and everything, but it's a matter of just knowing your numbers and knowing and having those conversations. Like, you really dial it in, and you can actually see the trends, and then as a buyer's agent, you can help your client buy in those trends so that way you can still get the property. I remember with me, I had a client we lost twice because, again, it was our first times out, right? And we're like, okay, now we're seeing what that trend is, right? We're watching where the over asks are hitting. What's the average price that it's going for, right? And when we were watching that, by the 3rd property we hit, bang, we got it, no problem, right? Obviously, contingency free helps because, for sellers, it's a guaranteed sale in their mind. And you want to have that strong, well put together offer. But there was a lot of things we did in the back end that made sure that our clients were in a position they could go in contingency free. And I think that's the biggest problem. I think probably in your market too, is a lot of agents are probably going in contingency free without the back end work for their clients, I'm assuming.
You'd be surprised. So my latest listing, every offer had a contingency because everyone in my market, or maybe I tell people, don't waive any contingencies. It does not protect your client. Yeah. So I even share when agents are calling, my seller is one that is going to be fair, put in your highest and best. Do not waive any contingencies. Do not. But for I would say the top 3 offers, wrote something very intentional. The gap between asking price and whatever the price ended to be, that gap was that if it doesn't come in as contingent or as a appraised value, they are going to cover the gap with cash.
Right.
And those offers rose to the very top because those Absolutely. Had the minimum risk. So
the buyers are able to do it. They're ready, willing, and able, and they've got the cash if need be. So it's much less risky.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I would say my team have been able, here's a secret. If let's say your market is trending, as we're talking about trends, trending 10% over ask. Well, let's just say when we are talking about commissions or in the terms of apples, the listing, the seller is paying 3 apples to the listing agent, 3 apples to the buyer's agent.
Yeah.
Instead of paying 10% over ask, why not cover the entire basket of apples and
Right.
only put in 4% above ask, as well as give them a 60-day lease back. This way, you're going to protect your appraised value from going over because you're now you're worried about the seller's net. And when the buyer has the perfect marriage with the seller, that's when the magic happens and we get things done.
Well, and that's being a realtor right there. There's a lot of people who are out there who are just facilitating, right? They're just drafting an offer, throwing it in. But here's Greg coming up with solutions for his buyers to not have to go crazy on multiple offers and still get the deal because they're providing opportunities for sellers to sit and think, well, that's a little different. I kind of like that. You know what I mean? So that's being a realtor. That's actually being a proactive solution provider. And really, that's what we get paid for. We get paid for providing solutions to people for their problems at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so obviously, I do respect your time, and I want to make sure I get you out because I know you are a busy, busy guy. But I want to talk a little bit about growing a team with TikTok. We're gonna bring it back to TikTok now.
Okay, let's do it.
This was like super. When you said this a few like a month or so ago, and I'm like, wait a second, you're growing your team through TikTok too. Like, boom! Not only is he picking up leads, he's actually picking up agents who want to work with him and utilize the secrets he's created to grow their business. And now you're expanding. You said something to the fact that you don't take deals now unless they're like $1 million. You've got a team to handle stuff. You've got leasing people. So tell me how you've been growing that, utilizing one TikTok, and how you're helping them grow through TikTok.
Yeah, I'll share with you when an agent is approaching me. Hey, Greg, I saw you on TikTok. I want to learn a little bit about your team. I'm like, beautiful. Let's book a meeting. When they book a meeting with me, I share with them, you're going to have 3 goals, not just 1, 3. You're going to have foremost a TikTok goal, because as we know, when you're building your audience or your database, we'll go back to that database aspect. When you're growing that, you're growing a solid foundation for your business. So here's a TikTok follower or friends goal. We like to say friends instead of followers.
Friends. Yeah.
Number 2,
I like that.
Production goal, like based off of understanding the team, how much you want to make in production. And then the 3rd one is going to be a personal goal. When you set 3 goals, you're bound to hit 1, 2, or 3 sooner rather than later.
Right.
The first one, you're setting a follower, a friend goal, because if you're growing that means I know you're putting intention and work behind your social media, because that is going to be the only prospecting you are going to do. Instead of spending 3 hours on the phone, cold calling, following up, everything. Social media, think about it as your new CRM. No longer do you need to know their name, their phone number, their email. They elected to jump into your database and say, I want to watch you. Cool. So you're building that. The goal of the personal goal is I want to see where they want to expand, where they want to grow. So one of my agents, I want to get my property management license. I'm like, okay, wrote it down, held the agent accountable to it. One said, I want to leave my full-time job and do real estate full-time. Wrote that down.
Yeah.
So as we have our week one-on-one, we meet in person or virtual, or even now at restaurants that we're doing our TikToks at. We're just now meeting on a regular basis to build our business. Not just real estate, but we're building our business. So I first started with kind of like this is probably the most salesy thing I did. I threw a 15-second video. Hey, are you in Las Vegas or Henderson, which is a suburb of Las Vegas? Are you interested in becoming a real estate agent? I'm looking for 5 agents to join my team. If you're interested, drop me, the word me, M-E, in the comments. 300 comments later, and I'm like, and here's the thing, this is how you filter the good ones out. You start having canned messages on responding to all of them, and give them instructions of how to apply to get an interview. If they followed everything through, which only 2 agents out of about 300 comments did everything, you've made it through the test of following through, and it's more of a test of attention to detail. Started building a team. Once people started seeing that, I have a team, more agents wanted to join. And then my last agent, his name is Chris Brown. He's on Clubhouse. He heard me speak on Clubhouse, and he was an agent. We met for coffee at Starbucks. It took a little convincing for him to join the team because he was already a seasoned agent. His license number, he started at the same time as I did. His license number in the state of Nevada is only 12 away, number-wise, from my number.
So you guys were
literally,
like licensed basically at the same time.
he took the elevator down as I took the elevator up to hand in my application. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
So now that he is seasoned, my next 5 agents, I'm still looking for agents to join my team. 5 agents are going to be a mix of new as well as seasoned agents to really balance the team. But I'm looking for unique. I want people to say, wow, Greg's real estate team is very unique. One thing that I'm still missing on my team is Spanish speaking. One thing that I'm missing.
It's shocking considering you're down in Nevada.
I know. I either am not hanging out with the right crowd. I don't know, but I'm just like, but I want to.
Gotta hit more taco bars.
I think so. Like more Taco Tuesdays or more,
right?
Just restaurants, right? But I think one of the cool, and I have a few right now in the back burner. They are getting their testing. They're doing all of that. But I want to build a all Spanish TikTok, real estate TikTok. Because why? Why tap into English speaking when you can do Spanish speaking only? Because I don't see that out there. Maybe it's already out there. I just don't see it. So I want to basically.
You haven't engaged with it, so it's not on your For You.
Pretty much, like I just know the basics, right? Like you know, conversation.
Hola.
But, yeah, hola, ¿cómo estás? I also want to really round out culturally within my team. So I would love someone that is Indian descent, because my client base, I actually have a good client base right now that are of Indian descent. And I'll be like, wouldn't it be great if I had someone that I can build from a culture, showing the Indian culture here in Las Vegas and what that looks like.
Totally, yeah.
And then my ultimate test, this is my ultimate test. Instead of building a all Spanish TikTok channel, I call it a channel because it is a channel.
Totally.
Is to attract a agent that is deaf or mute that has to do sign language. A sign language only TikTok. Because when you're doing sign language, most likely you're not going to worry about how you sound, how you look, or anything. You're just going to have sign language. And I want to build that because that would be the ultimate test of how I've been able to grow my team very organically and in a way that is going to be super niche that I could never, there's a huge deaf and mute population here in Las Vegas. I see them, I just don't know, right? Totally. How do I engage? So I want to actually find a real estate agent and help them build that ultimate, just not someone that does it casually. I want to build the hardest team I've ever built here in Las Vegas. So lots of exciting things.
You know what I really like about that whole concept is that almost does sound very Vegas. You know what I mean? Like it's very different. It's very unique. It's in a sense, it's like it's loud. It's going to be out there. You're doing some things that no other realtor is doing. And to me, that's just like a Vegas show at the end of the day. You know, you don't see that anywhere else except for Vegas. You go to Vegas for that reason, and you're building that team that almost aligns with the market that you're in as well in a lot of ways.
Very much.
So I think that's very, very cool. And I don't know if a lot of people have necessarily picked up on that. But as you're saying it, I'm like, man, I could just imagine all of you guys in a room. That's a Vegas show right there, all doing TikTok and all these things. It's fantastic, you know?
Yeah. So like right now, I've gotten to a point where I've strategically partnered with other influencers and other companies in Las Vegas because I have a team. I do a lot of restaurants. So here's the secret.
I've seen that. I don't know how you keep your figure with all those restaurants.
You know what? You just got to keep going all over and drinking a lot of green tea, of course.
No kidding.
The exciting thing about it is that imagine I use TikTok as a coaching mechanism, kind of going back to how to build a team. Yeah. I use TikTok as a way of coaching. If someone is saying, hey, I'm committed to doing 1 to 2 TikToks a day, meaning spend 3 hours on 1 video, 2 videos, that's your prospecting. If you fail to do 1 video, that means you didn't prospect that day. And it's okay if you didn't prospect. Yeah. But just in my mind, I share this with all my agents. You just told me you took a sick day.
Yeah.
Totally fine. Everyone gets sick. However, if you can't handle 1 15-second video, how are you going to handle a client that is not just going to take you 15 seconds or 3 hours? It's going to take you
days,
maybe
weeks, months.
2-3 months. Exactly. So for myself, this is all a stamina. Let's build up the stamina. If I said to you, hey, Cameron, all you have to do is do three TikToks every single day and never have to worry about business ever again, and you can build a team very naturally and just do 3 TikToks. When do you want to build 3 TikToks?
Would be super simple, because if that's all you're doing, you've got time. 15 seconds.
That's all I'm doing right now.
Done in the morning.
This is all I'm doing. So I share this because I'm the living example of putting the time and building an entire lifestyle of what modern day real estate agents are doing. It's no longer cold calling, it's no longer door knocking. I don't want to knock on the door to get my attention of the homeowners. I want to knock on their phone, be in their house already. So when they feel like, I feel like I need to go.
This is the attention right here. This is where people's attention is almost all the time. So you're doing exactly that. They're not even home half the time. They're literally just walking down the street on their phone, and you are now strictly in their face. So you are going where the attention is. So,
and the fun thing about doing TikToks and the first hurdle after they feel like, oh, I got onto TikTok, I did a few, I got some engagement, I'm out of ideas. You don't run out of ideas. That's like not seeing the opportunities and possibilities of seeing potential clients. Yeah. If you are in real estate, you have to look for those opportunities, those possibilities of engagement. Absolutely. So what do I try to do? Think of ways. I don't even show houses on my TikTok. I don't do that. So I have an agent that is on my team. All he does is do a lot of real estate. It works for him. That's his style. But he's also the youngest one on the team. But being the youngest one on the team at 23, his first deal was $1 million cash buyer. If I'm telling you, and I have another agent, Chris, just got $1 million lead off of TikTok, of all places, coming from Canada. So
there you go. It's because, like, you know, obviously I was kind of making the joke that we were watching what's happening down the States during the pandemic. Now we're looking at envy because we see all of you guys all open back up, and we're still in lockdown while we're talking right now. So it went from and to
Yeah, I mean, and that, I was like, I've never done an international transaction. I was like, lender, tell me a little bit more. She's like, I haven't really done many either. So let's learn together. Absolutely.
There you go.
So if you're in Canada and you want to own in the States, you have to open a bank account. You can still buy. You have to open a bank account. Minimum down is going to be 20% or 25% to get more preferred rates. You have to prepay your mortgage, all of that stuff. Yeah. So it's all a possibility. So it's how I built my team is I align my goals with my team's goals. And if I see them align, like property management. So because we now have an agent with property management certification, we are starting a property management wing to the group.
Beauty.
And because I've done that, it's like, I know that is rolling. Commercial is just knocking at my door.
Yep.
Just this week alone, 2 commercial clients. I don't even advertise commercial properties or commercial real estate on my TikTok, but they're like, we saw your TikTok. We just want to reach out to see, can we get an office space? Can we get a space for our nonprofit? Things like that.
Well, it is so interesting. They see based on your TikTok that you know Las Vegas, because I mean, obviously I've seen your stuff and you're promoting a lot of, like, check out this restaurant, check out this area to hang out, check out this part of Vegas. So I think that's where the commercial aspect, they're like, man, this guy knows Las Vegas. So that's why you start expanding there and having that commercial. And again, there's nothing wrong. You get that agent that's in there. Next thing you know, you're becoming like an what's the word I'm looking for? Like omnipresent kind of realtor that has all those divisions covered. So if someone says, hey, can you do this? Yes, we got you covered. No problem, right? Because why turn on business?
Exactly. And the great thing is, like, I would like to get into commercial, but right now it's not in the cards. Right now, I'm still growing my team. I am looking at 10 agents and determining who is the future leader of my organization. Yeah. So over the next year or so, just really saying, hey, who's in it for the long haul? Who actually wants a stake in the business? Because we're growing I've shared with everyone, I'm growing a team up in Reno, Nevada, which is northern part of the state, then hopefully in California as well as Arizona to cover that. And, you know, the sky's the limit at the moment. Oh, here's the thing. I'm building a second TikTok account. Here's the secret. I'm building a second TikTok account.
Hurry here, folks, first, guys.
First, breaking news.
Breaking news.
A second TikTok account where I have signed up, and my lender, she is 60 years old. She is my lender because I'm an extrovert. I'm all over the place. She keeps me calm, but she has a lot of great stories. And our friend Glenda Baker is my inspiration. I basically want to do an interview style, share stories, and build a lead generating TikTok, true lead generating, where I'm not the face of it, but I am the engine that receives all of the pre-qualified buyers coming through. So instead of spending, let's just say X amount of dollars on buying leads, why don't you just spend an extra $100 on your phone on a monthly plan, create a second TikTok account, have someone else shoot it, someone at my brokerage will shoot it, you do all the editing. So for sitting down for 1 to 2 hours, you can get maybe a couple of weeks of content, have your lender be part of the process. And ultimately, I want to be that person that provides so much or so many leads, qualified leads to my team, where my team is going to feel a little bit more relaxed.
Totally.
And their account is going to grow because they feel like they now know exactly what to do. So there's so many ways that you can grow this. And
I love it. Well, it's funny too, with the whole Glenda Baker thing. Like, I've been watching her TikToks, and obviously my team lead, she won't want me saying her age here, but did I lose there, Greg?
Oh, sorry. Had a call come in.
No worries.
Okay, I'm back.
This is the best part, folks. If you're listening to this, obviously, like, sitting at a Starbucks right now, he's taking the time out of his day for this. Absolutely appreciate that. But yeah, that whole Glenda Baker style, you know, I was showing my team leader, Kelly, that, and I said, listen, I know you are not good. Like, you don't like this. I said, let's do this. Let's just interview you. Because when I see her being interviewed with no, like she doesn't have to script it. She just starts going. It's great content. But as soon as she thinks she has to script it, she's like, so then the mortgage would be this amount, right? So we started doing that. We've put out our first, I think, 4 or 5 videos on her TikTok, and they've been just awesome. Like, I'm loving them. And I'm like, this is so, you know, you can get inspiration from anywhere. And TikTok's an amazing way that you can get inspiration from what other realtors are doing. And it's not shameful to actually kind of copy it. You know what I mean? That's kind of how TikTok has been built, is on someone doing a dance and saying, I want to do that. You know? And in our case, our dance is just, you know, marketing. It's showing what we know. It's entertainment. It's education. It's all of that. Obviously, we're running out of time here, but I want 2 more questions from you.
Sounds good.
One I ask every single person on the podcast, and then we're going to have a little bit of a fun one here as well. So first one is, what is that one book that you would recommend to anyone that has been very inspirational in your life? What's that one book you would highly recommend somebody reads?
5 Love Languages.
5 Love Languages. And tell us
so why that is. And I don't even remember the author. It is a way of keeping yourself grounded in your life. When you are surrounded with people that you love, sometimes you forget how to show your love, how you receive the way that you want to receive love, and whether it's through friendship, relationship, and whatnot. You want to be able to say, hey, maybe buying gifts is not how someone wants to show their love. My love language, how I like to receive love, is quality time and words of affirmation. To say, hey, Greg, you're doing a great job. Or, hey, I wanted to spend time with you doing nothing. That's how I like to receive that love. And why that is so important, it just makes you more aware of how you can communicate, not just like romantically, but how you can communicate with others. So Love Languages, that was a pivotal book that changed my life during the time of me in my corporate job to now as a real estate agent.
Awesome. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's totally transcribed into the real estate world as well, because we need to learn how our clients like to be treated as well, right?
Absolutely.
It's totally, I've read the book. It's phenomenal. Again, folks, you know, the big thing I'm, you know, always trying to talk about on this podcast is just education. That's what we're here to do, is help you get inspired and find education. That book is amazing. You can pick it up on Amazon. I'm a big fan of listening to books, because nowadays when you're in the car, you might as well utilize that time well, right? So go on Audible, download that, anything like that. And the last question I have for you is, if I'm coming down to Vegas, and there's always there's so much to do down there, but a lot of it's really canned for the tours, and I want to get that real Vegas experience that you wouldn't get if you're like going through all the normal channels. What would you recommend as that one restaurant or that one experience that someone should do that's maybe off the strip that would just give them that Vegas experience?
Okay, so I have two. So
All
let's
right,
talk about experiences. There is a hike that is located in Boulder City. It is of railroad tunnels. So this is a 3-mile flat hike that takes you through old railroad tunnels that helped build the Hoover Dam. So these are caves, they're bats. It's a nice little walk, but it oversees the entire Lake Mead, a lake that was created from the Colorado River. You realize, am I in Vegas? This is something that will take you so far away. Well, now that I'm thinking about nature, you got to head up to Mount Charleston, because we're also less than an hour away from snow. And during the summer months, you can actually ride the ski lifts. I put a TikTok, I put a video on my Instagram Reels as well. Food-wise,
everyone just thinks Vegas is just desert, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh my God. So I love going to do hikes and stuff like that. There is even a natural hot springs called Arizona Hot Springs, just on the Arizona side, less than 15 minutes from like Vegas proper, that you can hike for a couple hours, and it's natural hot springs that are built by Boy Scouts, and there's 5 tubs. And each tub gets hotter and hotter because the closer it is to the hot spring, right, the hotter it is. So right, I have a lot of things. So I gave you 3 things to do. One restaurant that is now back open is called Divine Cafe. Divine Cafe is located at the Desert Springs Preserve. The Desert Springs Preserve is our version of the zoo. And you're like, what? We're going to a zoo? No. This is the ultimate restaurant that will give you a different point of view of the entire Vegas Valley, from a different point of view, because it's located inside a residential neighborhood. There's a terrace that overlooks the entire Vegas Strip that you normally would not see on any calendar whatsoever. And leading up to the cafe, you see all of the renewable energies that Las Vegas has in store. The entire parking lot is full of solar panels. Everything is all about renewable energy. You see wind turbines, you see water energy, everything. It gives me really great insight of what Vegas has to come in the years in the future.
That's awesome. I love that. So we've got 3 destinations to check out and a restaurant. So we got more out of them than we were anticipating. But that's what I love too. When I go and travel to places, there's so much tourist trap stuff that's extremely expensive for no reason. And yet if you just find someone who's a local, they can bring you to these spots where, they go and experience true Vegas or true whatever that location is. So I appreciate that, Greg. I'm looking forward to the chance that I get down to Vegas, meet you actually face to face. Maybe you can take me to Divine Cafe. Maybe we can go for a hike one of those days too.
Yes.
Let's do it. I've been pent up for too long. I'm looking forward to getting out of Canada for a little bit. And Vegas is always just an easy one that we can go down to. And it's awesome having these connections. Again, Clubhouse has really expanded our network that I can go to so many different cities now, and I know people there now, which is phenomenal. But Greg, I appreciate you coming onto the podcast, taking time out of your day. I know you're extremely busy between, today you were running around in multiple different restaurants and filming for TikTok, as well as being a realtor, as well as running a team. Like I said, he's sitting at Starbucks right now for us, just getting this done where the best Wi-Fi was. So thank you so much for joining us. I will link his TikTok in the show notes. So make sure you guys go and hit him up. If he's not at 100,000 by the time this is dropped, get him to 100,000. And if not, let's push him past that. Honestly, I think he deserves to go for that million. So thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you so much, Cameron. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone.
Gotcha. And for everyone else, thank you so much for listening in today. This is another episode of the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. Don't forget, if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you hit us up, hit that subscribe button, and feel free to leave us a rating. If you loved this episode, make sure you guys go give us that 5-star rating. We do appreciate it. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode.